Your thanks by all the true lords, we take shelter of your feet.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Shri Guru Charana Padmaha Kevala Bhakati Samaha. Shri Guru Charana Padmaha Kevala Bhakati Samaha. Shri Guru Charana Padmaha Kevala Bhakati Bando Mui Savadana Mate. Bando Mui Savadana Mate. Yahara Prasade Bahai He Bhavatoriya Jahai. Yahara Prasade Bahai He Bhavatoriya Jahai. Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite. Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Citat Koriya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Citat Koriya
Sudan Diloye Janme Janme Prabhu Se Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate Jaya Hara Charito Jaya Hara Charito Karuna Sindhu Adamaya Narabandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adamaya Narabandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Padachara Haha Prabhu Korodoya Deho More Padachara Eve Jasha Gishukri Bhuvana Eve Jasha Gishukri Bhuvana Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Radha Gopinata Shri Radha Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Shri Radha Jagana, Jaya Jagana, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Shri Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Danta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho se Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Mathura Dhama ki Jagannath Puri Vidakshal Dhama ki Shri Mayapur Navadip Dhama ki Bhakti Devi ki Jai Shrimati Rasi Devi ki Gangamai ki Jai Yamunamai ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Jai Shri Prabhupada Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Lalita Vishaka Devi ki Jai Shri Jagannath Radhadesh Subhadra Maharani ki Jai Shri Giri Govardhana ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodara ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Sama Pekta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the Son of the Lord. All glories to the Son of the Lord. All glories to the Son of the Lord. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Guru Bhagavatam.
Nama Vishvaram Sachitananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Prajamanam.
Nama Vishvaram Sachitananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Prajamanam.
Yashoda Param Rishtam Atyanta Tutya Gopya. Rudam Tamuhu Nita Yukmam Vijantam Param Goja Yukmena Sataka Netam.
Rudam Tamuhu Nita Yukmam Vijantam Param Goja Yukmena Sataka Netam.
Moho Rasakam Pate Sita Devam Damo Param Bhakti Param. Hite Svalila Ananda Kunde Svago Shami Majantam Akyapayantam. Tani Shitanyesho Bhaktajitatam Punya Prematastam Tata Vikivande. Param Deva Mokshana Mokshavadimva Nacham Yamte Neham Vare Shakatiya. Param Deva Mokshana Vishnu dasi dasa moduka dalakti mata Namo Deva Namo Radhananda Vishnu dasi dasa moduka dalakti mata Vipatisti Vistyati Nambatano Dihani Shamamatam Idyakshi Trisha Vipatisti Vistyati Nambatano Dihani Shamamatam Idyakshi Trisha Uvedatma Jamara Jayayata Vaya Mukti Bhavati Bhajavi Chauda Uvedatma Jamara Jayayata Vaya Mukti Bhavati Bhajavi Chauda Tata Prima Bhaktin Sakame Prayaja Namo Shika Home Srinamudaleya Tata Prema Bhaktin Sakame Prayaja Namo Shika Home Srinamudaleya Namaste Todamne Skodati Tidamne Adi Yogadaya Kadishvasya Dhamme Namaste Todamne Skodati Tidamne Adi Yogadaya Kadishvasya Dhamme Namo Radhikaya Pradiya Priyaya Namo Radhadesh Devaya Tubhya Namo Radhikaya Pradiya Priyaya Namo Radhadesh Devaya Tubhya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Damodara Ki Jai. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose dark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offenses of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was turning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from the swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with a greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the weeping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lowest hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace floats around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like puncture, is shaking because of his weeping due to crying. The His Supreme Lord, Sri Damodara, his belly is bound, his roasted, his milk is pure love, for my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times.
O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of and personal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours, as Bhagavatam and Vrindavan, may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides this?
O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Damodar, O Nanda, O Vishnu, O Master, O Mother. Be pleased upon me, by showing the glance of mercy upon me. Deliver this poor ignorant fool, who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows, and come visible to my eyes.
O Lord Damodara, just as the 2 sons of Kuru, Manivikra, and Nalakuru were delivered from the curse of Narada, and made into great devotees by you in your form, as a baby tied with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation.
O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the violently influential yoga which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to you, Lord of the Lord Srimati Radhadesh, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastime.
Jai! Sri Damodar Ki Jai!
Ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, we have read verse, chapter 4, verse 66. Mayi nirbada hridayaham sadava samadarsanam vashe kurvanti mam bhaktya Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Sastriya Satpatim Yata
Mai Nirbada Hridayaha
Mai Nirvana Nirvana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Vasai Kumanti Mam Bhaktya
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Sastriya Satpatim Yata Mai Nirvana Hridaya Sadhava Samadarshana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Vasai Kumanti Mam Bhaktya
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Sastriya Satpatim Yata
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Sadhava Samadarshana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Vase Kovanti Mam Bhaktya
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Satriya Satpatim Yataha
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Sadhava Samadarshana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Vasai Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Satriya Satpatim Yata
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Mai Nirvana Hridaya
Sadhava Samadarshana
Sadhava Samadarshana
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Vashe Kurvanti Mam Bhaktya
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata
Sastriyah Satpatim Yata Mai unto me Nirbada Hridaya
Nirvana Hridaya
firmly attached in the core of the heart
Firmly attached in the core of the heart.
Sadhavaham
Sadhava
the pure devotees Samadarshana
Samadarshana
who are equal to everyone
who are equal to everyone.
Vashe
Vashe
under control
under control.
Kurvanti
Kurvanti
they make Mam unto me Bhaktya
Bhaktya
by devotional service Satstriya
Sastriya
chaste women
chaste women.
Satpatim
Satpatim
unto the gentle husband
under the gentle husband.
Yata
Yata
as Translation as chaste women bring their gentle husbands under control by service, the pure devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of the heart bring me under their full control. Purport. In this verse, the word Samadarshana is significant. The pure devotee is actually equal toward everyone, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter 54th verse. Brahma bhutah prasanatmana shochati nakanshati samasarveshu bhuteshu. Universal brotherhood is possible when one is a pure devotee, Pandita Samadarshana. A pure devotee is actually learned because he knows his constitutional position, he knows the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knows the relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. Thus, he has full spiritual knowledge and is automatically liberated, Brahma Bhutah. He can therefore see everyone on the spiritual platform. He can comprehend the happiness and distress of all living entities. He understands that what is happiness and distress of all living entities. He understands that what is happiness to him is also happiness to others, and that what is distress to him is distressing for others. Therefore, he is sympathetic to everyone. As Prahlad Maharaj said, Shochitato vimukha chetasha indriyata maya sukha baram udvato vimudhan. This is the famous verse where Prahlad Maharaj says that he is not worried about himself but only about people who are immersed in material life. People suffer from material distress because they are not attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure devotee's chief concern, therefore, is to raise the ignorant mass of people to the sense of Krishna consciousness. So, verse again, as chaste women bring their gentle husbands under control by service, the pure devotees who are equal to everyone and completely attached to me in the core of the heart bring me under their full control. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Guru Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, Lamani and Jivani, welcome. So, at the beginning I would like to ask you which point from this verse and this purport by Srila Prabhupada stuck to your mind the most, or heart? Okay, devotees are equal to everyone?
Equal vision.
Devotees have equal vision. Okay. Something else?
Krishna is controlled by his devotee.
Yeah, Krishna is controlled by his devotee. He says that in the verse, that devotees who are equal to everyone and who are, what was the second thing? They will have him in his heart. They bring him under the full control. Something else?
Chaste woman.
Like a chaste woman brings her husband, gentle husband, under her control. Okay, that was from the verse and from the purport. What does Srila Prabhupada speak about? Okay, so he speaks about different types of devotees, and he particularly speaks about the devotee who is technically called Madhyama Uttama. I mean, we will see a little bit more about it later on. Do you know this verse? Where is it in Bhagavatam? Where are we? We are in Lila with Ambarish Maharaj and being insulted by Durvasa Muni. So it's a very interesting and instructing story, and particularly this verse glorifies Ambarish Maharaj in a way, because Durvasa Muni insulted Ambarish Maharaj, who was pure devotee of the Lord, and actually, did he really insult him? That's another question, but he was Durvasa Muni is known of his short temper. So Bhagavatam also has few stories in Mahabharata and different scriptures about different curses that he spell on different people. He is known that he is, some say that he is a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. So there's some story, I'm not sure is it actually from authorized scriptures, but Prabhupada do mention that he's an incarnation of Lord Shiva, but it was said that Lord Shiva, that Parvati was Lord Shiva was too much, he was too fiery and too short temper, and she was like, I cannot live anymore with you, and then he decided to put his anger somewhere, and Durvasa Muni got it. So Durvasa Muni in many occasions he cursed different devotees and people. So when devotees would accept him as their guests, they would be very careful. Like, what do they do? Do they do everything right? And he was doing that kind of on purpose. He was going to people's homes and with his disciples, and that's the case here. He went with his disciples there to be received as a guest in Ambarish Maharaj's place, and Maharaj Ambarish was observing the fast for Ekadashi fast for 1 year, and then he was doing that only for the pleasure of Krishna. And then he wanted to break the fast according to the rules, and just at that time Ambarish Maharaj came, and he wanted to, of course, to welcome him. And then he said, I will go first to do my ritual bathing, and then I come back. And he was waiting for him, and the time was passing, and it was just about the time would just pass, and he would miss the proper time breaking the fast. So he didn't know what to do, and he asked, actually he did know, he was a pure devotee, but he wanted to be authorized in his actions, and he also consulted the brahmanas who were present there, and they allowed him to take some water according to the Vedic scriptures, breaks the fast and also doesn't break the fast. So he was like, he will take 1 drop of the water just to honor the fast and to please the Lord Krishna, and then he will wait for Durvasa Muni. But Durvasa Muni, with his mystic powers, he could see that actually Maharaj Ambarish took something, and that was not the custom. Like when a guest comes, guests should be first served and taken care of, and then only. So in his short temper, it is described in one of the verses before, like he got completely angry with his eyebrows curled and his face disfigured, and like, how could you? And he really said some really heavy things at that moment. And the heavy thing was still hungry. Durvasa Muni, his body trembling. You can imagine how angry he was. Like, have you ever been angry that you are trembling? Maybe, maybe not even, some people are a little bit less, but maybe you did, like, he was like, he took 1 sip of water, his face curved, like disfigured, and his eyebrows crooked in a frown, and he was like, angrily spoke as follows to King Ambarish, who stood before him with folded hands. Ambarish Maharaj was just standing there. He said, "Alas, just see the behavior of this cruel man." Can you imagine? Have you ever said something to somebody? He is not a devotee of Lord Vishnu. Being proud of his material opulence and his position, he considers himself God. Just see how he has transgressed the laws of religion. You have invited me to eat as a guest, but instead of feeding me, you yourself have eaten first. He was fasting for 1 year, and he took a sip of water, just to remind you. Because of your misbehavior, I shall show you something to punish you. And he grabbed a piece of his hair, also a very dramatic way to produce something to pull out your hair. And there was a big demon, and the demon wanted to harm Ambarish Maharaj. And it is explained that Maharaj Ambarish, he just stood. He was completely surrendered to Krishna. He didn't really fear anything, and he wasn't disturbed by this whole display of anger and pulling out the hair. Have you ever encountered a person who is very angry? That's also not so pleasant. So Maharaj Ambarish was also, he was just standing there, and demon got Krishna sent his Sudarshan chakra, who very quickly erased the big demon, and then the chakra started to chase Durvasa Muni himself. And that is explained that when the devotees are insulted, the one who is insulting the devotee actually is not harming the devotee but himself or herself. So it's like, this is very graphic explanation of that, but that's like a principle which works on any level, in any instance, that it just comes back as a boomerang. It's just... And the chakra started to chase Durvasa Muni, and he was like, okay, this is serious, and he tried to get away, and it is explained that for 1 year he was trying to escape And during that 1 year, Maharaj Ambarish was waiting for him and still didn't eat anything. He was like, okay, Maharaj Ambarish will come back, so I have to wait for him. And Durvasa Muni tried to get, he tried to hide, then he tried to get help from Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and then from Lord Vishnu, and this is where we are at the moment, that he's now with Lord Vishnu and he's trying to get his shelter. So we could think that he would probably give him, like that's what Lord Shiva said. He said, like, Lord Vishnu, he is very merciful, he will give you for sure his shelter. But then, surprise, surprise, Lord Vishnu also didn't give him the shelter. And Lord Vishnu, he's glorifying the devotee, see, and he's making a point how serious it is to offend a devotee. And this verse speaks about that. Like, he says, this is my devotee, Ambarish Maharaj is my pure devotee. And in the same way, he gives this comparison that we can a little bit relate to it. Like a chaste woman, in Vedic times that was quite something, chaste woman. Nowadays, maybe not all women are so chaste and so servingly inclined to bring their gentle husbands. Also, not so many husbands are gentle, maybe. So chaste woman brings under full control her gentle husband. In the same way, his pure devotees who are equal to everyone and who have Krishna in the core of their hearts bring him under full control. So he's not able to give him protection. He cannot eradicate the offense he did. And he also sends him away. And he gives him good instruction later on in maybe next verse or some of the next verse. He tells him, like, the only person who can give you shelter at this moment now when you did this offense is the devotee whom you offended. And it is explained that it's very nice detail, like even if a devotee, and that's the case with Ambarish Maharaj, he didn't even notice, more or less. He was just standing there and he was waiting for him to feed him. And he explained when he came back, Ambarish Maharaj was really embarrassed also, like, how much trouble he went through, And please eat. And Durvasa Muni, no, you eat. No, you eat. And he first fed him, and then only Ambarish Maharaj took something. So he was fasting like Ekadashi for 1 year. Like, we fast one day and we are like finished. And then he fasted full fast for 1 more year after Ekadashi. I don't know, have you ever tried like Bhishma Panchaka? Last 5 days of Kartik or Ekadashi fast, somebody who wants to really, I know, I never did it, I know some people who did, and they were like, after a few days of no grace and everything. Last 5 days of Kartik. Yeah. It's for Bhishma Panchaka, and for special boons and special, blessings, it's advised to have Ekadashi fast. He did it for 1 year, and then after that, 1 year full fast. And then he was still like, he really wanted to serve Ambarish Maharaj. So he is really consistently displaying very nice qualities of a pure devotee, Ambarish Maharaj. And then Durvasa Muni was pleased, actually, in the end. But it is explained like, even if a devotee doesn't notice the offense, like Ambarish Maharaj didn't notice, it is explained that the dust on his feet or her feet, remember. And because Krishna himself is taking the dust from the feet of a devotee, when he puts the dust, he will know that there was an offense. So Krishna cannot help in this case. We have to go to the devotee whom we offended, potentially. So, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about different levels, and specifically, as I said, he speaks about Madhyama Uttama devotee. He speaks about a devotee who is a pure devotee. He mentions a few times that that's a pure devotee, but who preaches. He speaks about preaching, and he speaks about the vision of such a devotee who can distinguish between the different levels of devotees. He says he knows who is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows who is a devotee. He knows who are those who are envious and who are innocent. So this is a symptom of a middle devotee who is not a beginner. Beginner tends to not recognize who is who, so he cannot offer proper. When I say he, please just consider I'm saying he or she. I don't have to repeat all the time. Beginner devotee cannot recognize that, so he cannot offer proper respect as it is, due to all of these categories. And the Uttama, the highest devotee, also cannot distinguish, because for pure devotee, everybody is devotee, like everybody serves Krishna. So Ambarish Maharaj, Uttama devotee, like highest devotee, he couldn't really recognize that Durvasa Muni is doing something wrong. He was just, I have a guest, and he's a devotee of Krishna, and I should really serve him. And okay, he's trying to kill me, but no, like maybe this thought haven't even crossed his mind. Oh, something is happening, let me take shelter of Krishna. Like no sense of discrimination of what is happening around. He just wants to serve, and he sees everything in connection with Krishna. But the devotee that Srila Prabhupada speaks about is Madhyama devotee, or intermediate devotee, who can distinguish and can make a proper distinction between the different categories, and therefore that person can preach. Srila Prabhupada is considered to be such a devotee, like Uttama, the highest devotee who was acting on Madhyama level, so that he can preach, so that he can distinguish between different categories, and then he can give Krishna consciousness to them. So this is all very nice. Like we heard about highest devotees who don't see anything separate from Krishna. We also hear about Madhyama, Uttama devotee who can make a proper distinction. What's the word? Distinction between the different categories and can preach also. But the question is, like, how can we get to that level? And personally, when I was preparing for this lecture, I didn't feel very comfortable. I felt like something in me protesting, and why? Because there's a lot of work which has to be done on our own hearts in order to come to this level. And I felt my rebellious nature is rebelling. And I was like, I don't like such lectures. But still, I think it's important, and for me it was very valuable to go through these things and to try to change something in my life. So we know that the process of Krishna consciousness is quite scientific, and it has its rules, how the things function, and it has its, maybe the rules is not the right word, there's no one who speaks my language, but, Anuradha, zakonitosti. Law sounds too much. Like the way something functions, not when we say law is like something, which is imposed on something, but this is more like the way the things function, like a natural way of things.
Physics, for example. Physics and chemistry.
Just the way the things work. So there is a way in which Krishna consciousness works, and we know that there are different levels through which a devotee goes, which starts with Shraddha, or with the faith. And from Shraddha we go on when a person gets initial installment of the faith, due to whatever reason. There are also different reasons how the person can get the faith in Krishna and his teachings. That person somehow naturally wants to associate more with devotees, and that stage is called sadhu sangha. So I guess all of you here are around, for sure, through these two levels. You have some faith in Krishna, and you have some faith in his teachings, and because of that you decided to associate with devotees, to associate with people who can tell you more about Krishna and teach you more about the process of Krishna consciousness. And important thing to mention with this stage of sadhu sangha, it is translated as associating with devotees, But it's important to say it's not just associating, but it's properly associating with devotees. So not all association with devotees is sadhu sangha. We can be together with devotees physically, but that doesn't mean that we are speaking about Krishna or that we are speaking about transcendental topics. We can speak about our differences and fight. We can speak about some, cars or, whatever. And it's necessary, some things are necessary to be spoken about, that's not a problem, but that is not sadhu sangha in this context. Sadhu sangha is if we speak really about Krishna and topics which are connected with Krishna, and then only that can be considered as sadhu sangha. So I remember my first big disappointment in Krishna consciousness was, I was like, yes, this philosophy and everything, this is so nice. And then I went to Association of Devotees and they were speaking about cars. I was like, what? You have all this knowledge and you speak about cars? Like, what? Like 1 hour about cars? Like, so I was a little bit too much in that direction as well. I mean, sometimes you have to speak about cars, no problem. But I felt like, 1 hour about cars. I'm not a man, so maybe 1 hour about cooking or something would be more appropriate, but cars, no. So, and then the next level comes with the devotee who associates with other devotees and his faith is growing a little bit. That person gets also faith in the process of Krishna consciousness and starts with a regulated process, with practicing bhakti yoga or practicing Krishna consciousness, and that stage is called bhajana kriya. But it's important to notice also, until we really commit to the process, and that is usually done through the process of initiation, where we commit to a guru, where we put our vows, give our vows, and we accept the regulated practice. Until that point, it's still not considered the full bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya, according to Vaishnava Acharya, starts really with the initiation, when the commitment is like stable. Here it is. This is bhajana kriya, and this is the stage actually which is very important for us. You have to leave. No problem. Yeah. Okay. So this stage of bhajana kriya is very important for us because the next stage, anatta nivritti, and the next stage, nishta, is actually the stages where majority of devotees are. Let's say it, majority. I don't know actually how many, but usually that is the stage which lasts for the longest time, and it's the kind of toughest period in devotee's life. And they say it's also like make it or break it stage. Because at that point, we are actually getting cleared of our conditioning, which we brought with ourselves to the process, and we are also getting cleared of bad habits which we acquired during the practice of devotional service. So this will be a little bit technical, but it's very important to know these things, because when we know these things, we can practice properly. We can make our educated choices, what will we do in our daily practice. Sometimes we feel, and that's I think my problem, which I mentioned at the beginning, why something in me was rebelling against this lecture, is we think, and it is, in a way it is like that, like devotion is something which comes from the heart, it's something very natural, something which is inherent in everybody's heart. Love of God is already there, and we just have to uncover it, and it has to come out naturally. We cannot force it, and that's not the point of love. We cannot go back to Godhead and back to spiritual world and reconnect again with Krishna and have this direct relationship under the pressure, or like faking it, or being automatic with it. It has to really come from. It has to be you. who is there. It has to be your natural soul which is coming out, the soul which is completely in love with Krishna, mad in love. So that, in that sense, yes, it is natural and spontaneous. So that's something which is coming from the heart. But the thing is, and that's my problematic point, is that we still have to follow the process as it is. And we have to know what is the process in order to follow it. If we do not know what is the process, then we will probably practice something else. And if we practice something else, we will get some different result. You probably heard many times this famous saying, which is attributed to Einstein, I think, or somebody like that, some scientist. He said, like, the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and thinking that you will get a different result. So, you know, somebody, let's say a scientist when they wanted to, I heard that when the bulb was invented, like the person, I think Edison was who invented it, he tried like, I don't know how many times he tried to invent. So, more than 1,000 times. So I guess he wasn't doing the same thing. He was trying to, you know, fix something, you know, add something, and maybe add some other metal into these little wires inside, and then put it like this and put it like that, you know, 1,000 times. He tried 1,000 times, but probably in a different way. If he would have tried the same thing 1,000 times, I think he would finish, somebody would put him into hospital or something like that. They would think that he's obsessed, you know, with a little bulb thing which doesn't work, you know, he's just doing the same thing 1,000 times. So that's like a madness. So in our context, in the context of Krishna consciousness, that would be that we practice a process which we are not really sure is that the process, but we still do it, and we are not really getting the results. And Krishna explains in one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that if the heart doesn't melt, if the tears don't come from the eyes, and there's one more thing, 3 things, and our hairs don't stand on the end, that means that we are doing voice choke up. That means that something is not working. So, do you have these symptoms? I don't. Just to make it easier. I don't have these symptoms, so it seems I'm doing something wrong, or I don't know the process maybe. Because, you know, when we associate with devotees and we read books, and we tend to hear things according to our own conditioning. It is as if we have the glasses with some other color, so we see things. Let's say I have yellow glasses. Have you ever put yellow glasses? There's a funny story. One devotee told me, like, he had these yellow glasses, and he was riding in a bus, and he was sitting in the front, and the bus driver told him, and he's in Bosnia, I'm from Bosnia, and he's a famous comedian in Bosnia, this devotee. He became devotee later on, and he was all the time with these yellow glasses, and this driver was like, oh, why do you wear all the time these yellow glasses? He just gave him to try, and he put it on, trying. Life is easy for you. Yeah, because these yellow glasses, everything looks a little bit brighter, like sunny and so on. So he felt like, oh, these glasses are really cool. Like, I can wear them, and my life will look better. You know? And that's what we also do. Like, these yellow glasses are, or pink or whatever, it's our own conditioning. We tend to hear what we want to hear in a way. You know, things which do not, like, it's like a key and a keyhole. You know, keyhole has different, you know, little things, and when you put the key fits perfectly. So our mind is like a keyhole. We already have some, you know, things which stick, or they are like inside or outside and so on. So when the things come to our mind, we tend to listen what we, you know, we hear what can fit into our mind. When something doesn't fit into our mind, we just don't hear it. Have you ever had this experience? You talk with somebody and that person is just like what? Like, really cannot. And that's also, maybe that's very obvious when you speak with non-devotees. You try to tell them something which for you is maybe super simple, but person is like, what? I know I was trying at some point to force my parents to understand me, and that didn't work. So, and I remember that was for me a very like turning point when my mother said like, you know, and she was really honest and very sincere in that. She said like, you know, you're trying to tell me these things, you know, but I don't understand you really, and you just disturb me, you know, and you go, and I feel so disturbed, but I just don't get you. I don't know what are you speaking about. And I was like, okay, who am I to do this? You know, why am I just disturbing her? I was like forcing, but it didn't work. Prasadam works better. That's understandable. It fits into keyhole, like prasadam. So that's the problem. We hear stuff, but it just passes somewhere. We don't hear. So we might be practicing the process, which is not actually the process which is given in our books. And because now it's 8:45 already, should I speak 5 more minutes and then maybe questions? Yeah. Just wanted to say shortly about this. These 2 stages which are very important for us. We have to know what are these stages. We have to know what is happening during these stages and how to go through them in order to practice properly. Like, we want to be, you know, we want our devotion to come forth, to come out, but still it has to be in accordance with the scriptures. So these 2 stages, as I mentioned, they are Bhajana Kriya and Anartha Nivritti, and they, according to Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they go on simultaneously. It's not like one after the other. So Bhajana Kriya, when we accept the regulated practice, this stage has 2 stages, two divisions, so to say. One is unsteady and one is steady. And that steady bhajana kriya, steady practice, becomes nishta, which is 5th stage, or steadiness, stage of steadiness. So this unsteady devotional service and anartha nivritti go together. And there are things in ourselves which prevents us from being steady. They bring about this unsteadiness. And this is now the technical part. It is described that there are anarthas which are in our hearts. They come from 4 sources. 2 sources are considered something which we bring with us to Krishna consciousness from before, and 2 of them are those which we make while practicing. So these things which we bring with ourselves are just consequences of our pious and impious activities. So whatever we were doing before, even in previous lives, it's our stock which we bring with ourselves. But it's important to note that these 2 are very easily eradicated. Holy name is super strong, and these are just easily gone, more or less. But these 2, which we form while practicing, they are more tough to get rid of. And these 2 are one is mistakes in performing devotional service. So for that, it is important to know what are the rules of devotional service. And the other one is from the offenses. So there are things like anarthas. Anartha means something which is unwanted in our heart. They can form because of the offenses. So you remember the 2. One is mistakes in performing devotional service, and the other one is because of the offenses. And a very interesting thing with offenses is that these are considered to be only offenses to the holy name, not offenses in service. Because also offenses which are done because in service, they are also eradicated by the holy name, but by the holy name. But offenses to the holy name, these are the ones which stay in the heart, and they really need time to be eradicated from the heart. So I'm not sure how clear this was, because I'm trying quickly to go through all of this. But what I wanted to say, I wanted to boil it down to the most important thing to remember. It's offenses to the holy name are the ones that we should really be careful about. And the two which are out of the 10 offenses, the two which are most important to be very careful about are offending a Vaishnava and being attentive while chanting. So these two are considered the main problems on our devotional path. And we have here in this verse, we have an example of, in this chapter actually of Bhagavatam, we have an example of a devotee, of a person who offended a Vaishnava. And it is said that this particular offense is only, like even on the level of bhava, can you imagine? Like the highest level of bhava is still person feels the consequences of such offenses. And only when the person goes back to the spiritual world can that person be sure that it will not come back. So it's a very, very grave offense to offend the devotees. And it's understandable also why it's so. I guess those of you who have children, if somebody touches your child, that's like, you don't mess with my child. You know, that's like, even I think if somebody hits you, you would be like, fine, but don't touch my child. I remember when I had a dog before, and I was walking him out, and there was some big dog who was, I don't know, somebody let him loose or whatever. It was like a big German Shepherd, and my dog was like a small one. And that big German Shepherd started to bark, and he wanted to bite him. And in this moment of madness or whatever, I just grabbed my dog and turned my back to this German Shepherd. So he was on my back, you know, and barking, and I was protecting my dog. And later on, when I remember what I did, I was like, oh my God, you know, I'm crazy. You know, he could, you know, whatever, bite my kidney out or, I don't know, something. But it was just instinctive, just protection, just let's protect him. So I guess even more people feel for their children. So you can imagine how Krishna feels for his devotees who have him in the core of their hearts and who are equal to everyone, those that Krishna is speaking about here. So if you touch them, if you bark at them, you know, like that's not something which Krishna will really, how to say, that he will be satisfied with. And the other one, inattentive chanting, that is the one which is said it's the root of all other offenses. So that's something which is done during the chanting. We really have to be careful with our chanting, and also at all other times of the day is other 9 offenses. It's like the 10 offenses that offending Vaishnava, being disrespectful towards demigods, towards the scriptures, and so on and so forth. So all these offenses. So that's something to be very careful about. So it's 5 to 9. I'm like, just one more thing, if you want, because I didn't get the time to go through all of it. It's very short. I have 10 offenses to the holy name here, and I have here also the list of these anarthas, which come from 4 sources that we just mentioned, and from there are also some few more things which you can read. It's just the obstacles in the heart which we have like obstacles to devotion, and there's from these obstacles there are 6 types of irregular behavior which are very common for persons on these 2 levels, which sprout from these obstacles in the heart. So these are the things that we really have to take care of. Otherwise the process will not work, and we might find ourselves like being 20, 30, 40 years in the process and still not getting choked and hairs on the end, and things will not happen for us because we didn't practice the process. We were practicing something which felt like process. Okay, I will stop here. We still have.
I had a question because
yes. Yes.
It's about insanity when you're quoting Einstein, I think. The same thing, and but at the same time, I just think it became an idea of chanting. You know, we are chanting for some years or decades, and it looks like, from one point of view, there is no another result of the same thing, which is pretty much the same, I don't want to call it that, but not quality. So is that insanity, or what do we do in that context of quoting Mr. Einstein?
Yes, in terms of chanting, the holy name is the very means to eradicate the madness. So chanting the holy name in itself is not a problem. But the problem is if we chant the holy name in the same way. That's the madness part. If we do it over and over again, but not doing it properly, that is the madness. If we don't really invest our effort into avoiding the offenses, and first and foremost is inattentive chanting. So it's also described like if you chant over and over again, you can become first-class atheist if you don't do it properly. It's like a realistic result of chanting, improper chanting, that you become first-class atheist because you are doing it over and over again and you don't get results. And then after, 30 years, you can give a full conviction, you can testify in the court like, yes, I tried it for 30 years and it doesn't work. And I spoke with devotees who were practicing previously, and sometimes about this, like, you really believe in that? You really believe it works? Devotees who lived in temples, did so much service and so on, practicing for years, and they are like, you really believe in that? Like a little bit, are you crazy? I know, I've been there, I practiced for so many years and it didn't work. So chanting itself, it's not a problem, it's us who do it in a mad way. We do it in the same way, so that's the madness.
It sounds a little bit mechanical, maybe, that you said you need to do something, you do something and then the result will come if you do it right. So it sounds logical, but we know that with Krishna, he decides when he's going to give you the mercy, so it's like not really the result is not really in our hands. There is no possibility that if you chant properly, you get the result, but it's not like, that you get because you do it right. Sometimes you get when you chant in the same way, and then suddenly you have some realizations which are, and sometimes you try and enough times. So,
it is explained that on some higher levels of devotion, like of these 9 stages that we mentioned, that some final things which come, like full darshan of Krishna or things which come on the level of prema, these things are fully Krishna's mercy. Like only due to Krishna's desire he can show himself, none other way. So, and when you say it sounds mechanical, that we just follow, the thing is, we follow what Krishna said. So it's kind of combined thing. It's still, we are showing with our attitude, with our effort, we are showing Krishna, do we really want him? And also with all these offenses, it's always the mentality behind which is the deciding point. So it's not the same if a devotee, let's say temple president or people who are in management, they sometimes have to deal with things which are, they have to see what are the bad things happening or somebody's bad characteristics or something like that. But the mentality behind is not to criticize, the mentality is to help and to make things work better. So for them it's very challenging. They have to be really careful. People who have to deal with these things, they really have to, that's why we have to really give support to people who are doing such services, because they really are on the edge. They are, they are risking their own spiritual life by doing this service. So that the mentality behind makes a difference. Is it really an offense, and how grave is the offense? And when we practice the things, it's about our mentality. How are we transforming to a pure devotee? How are we becoming selfless and becoming a pure devotee in a sense? So it's not mechanical. Mechanical part is that there is a process. There has to be process, and the process is given by Krishna. So it's like how to say, some other processes for something else. If you want to play a violin, there's a process how to play a violin. So this is the process which was given by Krishna, how for our own benefit, how to get closer to Him, how to remove what is unwanted in our hearts. And of course, Krishna is there all the time, and He is helping us all the time that we go really this way. So I don't know if this, I cannot really express properly. Is this answering this comment in a way? Because it's not automatic. It might sound mechanical, but it's not really.
There's one lecture the devotee was asking what if Krishna did not want to give you the mercy? Not saying, where am I? Can I help us? Krishna is not like that. I mean, the mercy is that, it's something that Krishna is willing to even give. As you say, you're looking for that state of mind. So that's fine. It's the giving of the happiness.
I sometimes feel like, the process as it is, it's very regulated, and it can look, I completely agree, it can really look mechanical. And this is what I said, it's my part where I'm like, no, don't put me into, some boxes or something. It can look mechanical, but, I feel it's like, and nowadays there's the whole movement about positive affirmations, and, saying things to, you know about positive affirmations and, hypnosis and stuff like that. So it's kind of, our process is similar to that, or this is similar to our process. We are actually training ourselves to be normal, to be pure devotees. We are changing these twisted and these things which are there in our hearts, which are preventing us from being pure devotee. It's like a training. Yeah, it's like a training. So in that sense, it's needed. It's needed. Something is needed to reform ourselves. If we would be pure devotees, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be probably also discussing this. We'll be somewhere else in ecstasy of service. So, yeah.
There are many more questions on my side. It's a very important topic.
Yeah.
Especially the second part of Radhadesh was speaking. Ultimately, Krishna is not so encouraging in Bhagavad Gita. He said, Manushanam Sahasra Shu, 10,000. And that is, some of them are going to go through. So, from one point of view, it's kind of, we can kind of keep ourselves at this time and come on the verse that we are kind of going through everything and we are not giving up. That's kind of our share. But at the same time, about the results, you do this, you will get that. That doesn't really Krishna.
It's combined.
It's combined, because they just cannot stand it in kind of desert of decades, which is.
We want the highest thing. We want to be with God. So it's like, if you want to go back to the example, if you want to play a violin, you need years just to play a violin. And we want to be with God. We want to eat with God and dance with God, and just for one thing in this material world, for expertise in one field, you need so many years to invest into it, and we feel like it's too much for God to invest lifetime. Like my father is now like a big expert in his field, but he spent like 40 years of and he was really workaholic. Like he really worked and worked and worked. Like holidays were only from day when he goes to holidays and comes back to holidays. He never used his full holidays. He just used for the travel. And then he works, and brings one, and works. And now he's an expert. And he's now retired, and who cares? But, he invested his lifetime in becoming an expert in, checking the electrical stations. Who cares about electrical stations, And he invested a lifetime, And yes, you are right. Yes, devotees lose the enthusiasm and so on. But like that's, first of all, it's not lost. Whatever they did in the course of their service, nothing is lost. It's there still, but it's also understandable. And it's understandable, the verse which Krishna says, that out of many only one. Because this is not, probably for many of us, it's not one lifetime affair. Probably. Because we do get discouraged and we do get like this, it takes so much time. But it is explained, it's written, our acharyas have written that. Like, it's quite heavy in a way. And I acknowledge that. You heard, I was telling, for me, just preparing this lecture was like, oh my God, I really felt like, so heavy with it. That it says that anarthas which come from offenses to the holy name have to be over the longer period of time, one by one, weeded out. So it's super serious. It's not something which you will probably say too many times because you get depressed and people with a lack of confidence will get even less confidence. It's not something to be, so much, but we have to know these things, that it is a serious affair.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult because you have this statement that Lord Chaitanya just give this love of Godhead to everyone without any discrimination. And then how can it be people in the movement 20, 30 years trying so hard they don't get this?
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya made it very, very easy and simple. Like all these things which we were speaking about, he gave the mantra formula. He gave Shikshastakam and he gave the third verse, which is like a summary of everything. And the summary also for all these offenses is to be very respectful. So if we even take that as really, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, like, he brings his hands in the air and he says, please take this verse and put it around your neck. Have you heard of people when they want to make a point, they like make a tattoo on their neck or somewhere like a tattoo, and it's no, I love Lisa, or something. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, put this around your neck, Trinada Pisunichana. That's that should be the main, he made it very simple for us. Do we practice that? Are we very respectful, more tolerant than a tree? Giving respect to everyone, never expecting respect for ourselves.
That's hard.
That's hard, yeah. Somebody messed up with my laundry the other day. And, I went to almost everybody in the building asking who messed up with my laundry, And I was disturbed. I have to admit, I was disturbed.
I saw you, yes, you can.
He saw me, he knows. I was disturbed by it, so I was like, my laundry, So, yes, but also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed Goswamis and also instructed acharyas who wrote these literatures. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote so extensively and so detailed into anarthas, into what is keeping us stagnated. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes, he appeared and he opened the storehouse, but he also said, those who are proud will never get Krishna Prema. And all of this basically boils down, like when we boil all of this, or the technicalities on, Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, like unsteady, steady, nishta, this and that, when we boil down everything, anarthas, obstacles, whatever, it boils down to false ego and the pride. And that's what also is Shikshastaka about, and third verse is about that damn pride. That we are like, we
come
feel.
Back all the time.
What?
It comes back all the time.
Yeah, it does. That's the problem. So whatever we can do, we don't have to, if this is too complicated going, for me it's helpful, like my mind works like that I need a little bit of details and my mind has to do something. So I need little details, this and that, and, so for some people that doesn't work. So to be very simple, is just, false ego, expecting the respect for ourselves, not being respectful for other people, being critical or, trying to find mistakes. Why not do opposite? Let's try catch people doing things right. catch them, watch them and just, oh, Radharani is making this for the devotees, and everybody will offer their lamps, and she's here and she's doing that. We caught her. Like that, you try to catch people doing things right. We see Yaduvamsha, he's taking the notes. He's really, he really wants to remember. He's really dedicated. He wants to, And Peter, how nicely he sang. Isn't it? It's so nice.
Yeah.
He has a very soft voice, and he expresses his devotion, and he wants to do it. And you are also making these little gigs and asking questions. You are really serious, and you are honest also. You are very honest. Not everybody would, admit, oh, my pride is coming back. We would be proud not to admit that we are proud. So I can go with all of you. I don't know everybody, but we can do this, and we can be more respectful to each other. That's one thing. And also, when it comes to us, we can be a little bit more humble, like not expect that people, respect us, and and to be tolerant, and all these nice things. But we can just start with something.
Just when devotee was comparing to Bhagavad, if he doesn't have devotion, just doing his duty, he was a servant of Bhagavad. And Bhagavad was saying, doing the duty is not bhakti. He said this is not devotion to do your duty, it is completely. So sometimes we try to ignore it because it's waiting for the ecstasy to come. But actually to do our duty is very much it's very hard.
Yeah, it's
very difficult. It's not easy to do things because you like. Actually, if you do it because of duty, there's a lot of devotion in it. You really have to invest a lot of knowledge, a lot of overcoming the mind. So it's not just something that is easy. And I'm sure it counts it. So.
Just one thing where we have to be careful with what you are just now talking is that we shouldn't be doing things for the wrong reasons as well. If we really do things out of the duty, it has to be because of Krishna. It shouldn't be because we feel, we are Kali Yuga people, so we have different things going on in ourselves. So we should still question our motives. Are we really doing it as a sacrifice, as a duty, as something which we want to do for Krishna? Maybe at the moment I don't have the feeling, but I really want to do it because I know it's good. I know that it's there in the scriptures. It's advised by the previous acharyas, by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. I'm doing it because of that. Or I'm doing it, the other side could be, like I heard, what's the word, Mahatma Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's disciple. I heard him talking with a devotee who is a spiritual counselor, and he was saying to teach people who have a problem with self-confidence or complex of inferiority, it is useless to teach them to be humble. It's very important because people who already have it's kind of psychological problem, like maybe mild one, but it's something which has to do with our psyche. If somebody has a problem with that and you teach that person to be humble, you might just aggravate that person's condition. So that's something which has to be really carefully dealt with, because you probably also seen that sometimes devotees get things a little bit wrong. So it can happen that some problems arise from there. So really to engage somebody in the service, if we are in a position to engage somebody in the service, it has to be really done carefully. Someone really has to know the person and engage her according to the state that person is in. That's just a little word of caution. But otherwise, what Mother Radharani is saying, yes, doing things, and it's even explained that there are two on the level of Nishta. There are two ways Nishta can be expressed. One is Nishta means steadiness, so steadiness in the service and steadiness in the qualities which a person exhibits, like qualities like being humble and so on. So it is said, what do you think out of the two, which one is more important? I was surprised in a way because my concept was that the qualities are the ones which should be, but no, it's actually service according to explanations of acharyas, because qualities can be the consequence of some pious deeds from before, and somebody can be very tolerant, for example, but it doesn't have to do anything with that person's spiritual advancement. But the steadiness in service, steadiness in chanting the holy name, that is something which is like, that's the real thing for sure. Somebody is chanting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's still like a little bit, a little bit in my mind is, but I can understand the logic behind it. Maybe when I come to that level, maybe it will be more. So that's why also Krishna says that, even if a person who is steady in service, even if he does abominable deed, yes, that person should still be considered a sadhu. That's because of this reason. Because that person already has a nishta, steadiness in its practice, and the qualities will come, for sure they will come. As Mother Durrani said, like, Krishna is not like that. Krishna will not let the person practice the process which he has given. He gave us this process, not like somebody invented. It was not the yogi in Himalayas who meditated and then this will be the process. No, it was Krishna. Krishna gave the process. So if somebody follows his words and does the process, Krishna will respond to it, that's for sure. When? That's up to him. I also met some devotees who conditioned Krishna, and very good devotees, like very dedicated, like, giving everything to service and super dedicated. But then conditioning Krishna, and they didn't end up well. Like, Krishna now has to...
Krishna? Like limiting?
Krishna has to respond now to my request.
Yeah.
Like, was it Srivas Thakur who said I will cut 3 times?
It's tradition, yeah.
So that's Srivas.
No, he was not eating.
Yeah, but that was Srivas, So if us try to do that, I guess it will not go well. Maybe on the level of prema and going back to spiritual world or internal associates of Krishna, that can work. But on our level, probably it will not work. In case of the devotee who was, that was a friend of mine, and he was really, 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 really super dedicated. But when he was saying these things, I always felt like, you shouldn't be saying like that. That shouldn't be the attitude. Unfortunately, he had some troubles in his spiritual life. I guess he will have to work through some of the concepts. But when I read this, Krishna can decide when to give his mercy, so it's solely up to him. I would like just one thing, because we are already over the time, and I'm happy that you were interested in the topic. I want to announce one thing. This, what I was speaking about, was partially based on a course which was given by Ananda Vrindavan Dasi, Mataji, probably. She's a resident of the Slovenian Ljubljana temple, and it is a course on Madhurya Kadambini, where Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes into really of the details of these stages, and especially her course is speaking about these stages which are very relevant for us. And she's really expert in it and knows many more intricacies and different details about it. And she will come to Radhadesh in January, I think, January. And we will have, with our Bhakti Shastri students, we will have a course in Madhurya Kadambini focusing on these 2 stages. So you are also welcome. We will announce it in advance. So you are also welcome to join. I recommend you wholeheartedly to participate.
When in January?
End of January, before Radhadesh Mellows.
Okay.
So So it's, I think for me this book, I read it quite some years ago and then reread it, and now going through her course, it was always it's eye-opening and something is there to work on my poor dirty heart. Okay, so if you want these offenses and obstacles and irregular behavior, this is really interesting. Maybe next time we can speak about irregular behavior, because I can find myself everywhere in these. So, confirmed, I'm on the unsteady level at the moment. Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ambarish Maharaj ki jai.
I hope it doesn't come through by changing